Hello, and welcome to Automat Live Coding. On this stream, we are writing Automat. Automat is a tool for game automation. If a game that you're playing has some grindy elements, some very repetitive stuff that you think could be automated with macros, like it's a tool for macros. Automat can be used to repeat those grindy elements. Automat is kind of like AutoHotkey or other macro software, but it looks and functions differently. Instead of having some kind of forms where you feel so, it's not like a fixed tool that you just use. It's not a programming language where you have to script your macros, although the latter description is probably closer to what it is. It's sort of like a workshop, like a virtual workshop, where you get access to all sorts of tools and you can combine those tools together to do stuff. Like there is a switch and there is a timer, and I can connect the switch to a timer. So now when I turn on the switch, it turns on the timer. And all of those, and it works both ways. You know, when I turn on the timer, it turns on the switch and so on. We have a bunch of fun toys like a hotkey. So this is something that allows Automat to react to hotkeys. So I can press space and it turns the timer on. And we have a macro recorder. A macro recorder is super useful. It's probably the most useful tool in the whole Automat. It's the tool that you can use to record macros. For example, this funny shape. Once I recorded a macro, it's recorded to this timeline. I can now play it, right? And it plays the shape that I just recorded. Or I can hook it up to a hotkey. So now when I press space, now it moves my mouse. It's a very simple, very intuitive way to build complex machines. Things Automat are they are advancing very quickly. Like this wobbliness, for instance. This wobbliness it's not just a visual effect. It's actually a lag compensation mechanism. It's not really a it actually saves latency, this sort of deformation. Anyway, we have all sorts of cool things, like we have this ability to put some objects on multiple boards. See this? This is the same hotkey. When I press space, they will both blink. Automat has also a mechanism of kind of having multiple boards, and it makes it possible for you to clone an object and put it on multiple boards. On one board, an object can only exist in one place. You cannot clone an object and have a clone next to it. Okay, so that was the introduction to Automat. Automat has one problem. It can crash. Like, we have lots of fun objects, but they are kind of over-engineered, and because of this, it's just easy to make mistakes. Sometimes things break. And crashing, I don't think crashing is really necessary in software. Software generally crashes because programmers decided that software should crash. It's kind of silly, but unfortunately, it's a very sad realization that all of the crashes are basically due to the choice of programmers. When a crash happens inside the program, what really happens is that the program gets a signal, and that signal tells it what happened. For example, all of those things could have happened. We could have executed an unknown instruction. That's an option. We could have tried to execute some memory which should not be executed. We may have wrote to a memory which should not have been written to. We may have accessed a memory which has not been mapped. Maybe unknown should be replaced with unmapped. And we could have accessed memory in a bad way. Or there could have been an arithmetic error. For example, divide by 0, square root of negative number, this kind of stuff. Computers cannot work natively with imaginary numbers. Anyway, so those are errors that can happen. And what happens when one of these things takes place is that we get a signal, and typically the software just stops. Like when it receives one of those signals, illegal instruction, segmentation fault, segmentation violation, bus error, floating point exception. Those are like Linux names for those errors. So what happens? The program decides to stop. It just crashes. It writes some error message to the console and stops. And in Automat, we are making a decision to not do this. Just Automat will keep running if those things happen. We have this new mechanism called error crash recovery. And I actually want to see. So let's open the flip-flop object. So flip-flop object, so this is the switch. Somewhere here there should be this function, on run. This is our function. So let's crash. I think something like this should cause a crash. So this is how you define an object. It's actually surprisingly little code, because most objects, they only describe what the object does. It doesn't describe how the object looks. There is a different layer it describes how the object looks. It's a little bit more code there. Okay, here is our flip-flop, and check this out. Accessed unknown memory at blah 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 blah. Do we get this error? Okay, this error message is actually really not that great. It's, maybe this will be in scheduler. Defined it. Start work reference. Mat loop. Ask CP. Wait, I think this function is so important. It should probably be in a separate file. Okay, this is a bad error message. I'm actually thinking about how to report those errors. I think maybe we can convert them into file offsets. Because this is an absolute address in memory. And Automat binary is mapped at some address. So maybe we could print something like automat.exe plus this. Actually, let's start with the description, actually. I don't like this description because it suggests that we wrote to a protected memory at some address. I'm also not sure about unknown. Okay, I need to think about things. Should we use or unmapped? I need to ask somebody. I need to ask somebody who's not a programmer about this. Because the point of this error message is to make it kind of understandable. It should be more humane, this error message. And how do I tell this? I don't like this source. Let me try it differently. Or maybe let's get rid of this description. This description doesn't belong here, really. think something like this should be possible. Switch, not type, but error.type. Yep. Can I put this in here? I can. This is specifically the language I do not like.
Megaburger says,
See try catch be like, I caught the error chat.
returns a string literal anyway.
I think I should convert this address into file offset. This is int here, right?
Why did the C programmer break up with their partner? They couldn't handle the commitment issues.
Okay, this is actually going to be tougher.
My C code doesn't have bugs. It has undocumented features. Thoughts.
Yeah. There's this XKCD about fixing error in Emacs. This one. Spacebar hitting. Yeah, what I would like to do is
Why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bugs.
nice. Is this dark mode? Am I using dark mode? I guess I am, because most text is right white. here's what I want. I would like to and here we will file, remove this file and this executed protected memory also should probably be we need a new source file. What do I call this? Something that will have the resolve address. Maybe I can call it resolve address. Memory HPP? Memory HPP sounds good. Oops, where am I? And there. And this function. This function is going to be used in like extreme situations, so it needs to always work. It's not going to be even able to report errors. Okay, let's grab this. Simple, right? So right now this is not doing anything. But it needs to work on both Linux and Windows, so I do not want to write any proc maps parsing yet. Because it's going to be implemented differently on every platform. Oh, I think there was one more type of error. Yes, yes. There was another type of error that we could probably print here that would be actually very helpful about okay, let's see how this works. This should print reasonable error messages. We still do not have this resolve address. We need it. Okay, I had this list of things to do. I think task lifetime, another day. Not that. Arithmetic error caused by something. Yeah, we're getting arithmetic error here. We'll do this again. Oh, break. Come on. That's silly. The classic mistake. Okay, let's flip this switch. There we go. Quota something something. Accessed unknown memory. This is a very good error message, but I would like to remove this global. If we cannot resolve this, or maybe if we cannot resolve this, we will return just with empty file name. There we go. Quota something something accessed unknown memory. Okay, time to commit this. And we need to update the tools. So we have this new class called source location. Seen this. This is something I've done yesterday after the stream. I really like this class. It's as small as std source location. It's actually compatible with it. And it can also store string views natively. So this binary size is no thrower. I remember that. this source location is going to be available very, very rarely. Anyway. Okay, so things that we need to do. We need to fix the lames position. We need to implement resolve address. And we want to implement this exhausted stack memory. And that's not all. We need to add the possibility of clearing an error. And there's one more thing I wanted to try. There's one bug that I honestly cannot trace. I have no idea where it comes from. Something happens in timeline, where I have a complex timeline with lots of things happening.
Programmer, it works on my machine. Client, then ship your machine.
Something. It used to cause a crash sometimes. Those kind of edits. Is this a crash? No, it's not. Oh, come on. Seems to still work somehow. I don't know why. It should be crashing. It should be crashing. I mean, it's kind of nice that I cannot reproduce this. Okay, but those things, those 4 tasks, are basically everything we need to do so that crash suppression is working fine. I could maybe one more. I could maybe add crash suppression in some kind of top-level automat code. For example, window handling. For example, if there is an error on the OS thread, on the main thread, which displays the window, we could just close the window and reopen a new one without losing any objects that are doing stuff. It would be fun. But I will do this when I encounter such an error. So far, we haven't seen any, really. This is actually probably the most stable part of Automat, the main thread. The primary thing that causes issues is the Automat workers. Objects generally crash. Okay, time to commit all of this. Memory, nice error messages. It's temporary. Okay, and we should also, before we end, this flip-flop crash. Okay. Maybe amend this into the last commit. Okay. Restart to update. Let's restart. Login expires in 3 days. Okay. Doesn't matter. Let's send the parrot to investigate these error flames. Location. Let's see. Okay. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And I see we have a diagnosis. Cause of flames. Since the warp unification, canvas concat local to parent was never restored, so the error text offsets. Okay, fix built and delivered. Okay, we have a fix already, nice. What? What? Why did it remove this? Oh, I see. The only issue is that now we need to restore. The clip was probably unused. It's reasonable. I like fixes which reduce the number of lines of code. Those are the best fixes. It makes sense here, I think. Yeah, we should draw errors after child. Yeah, the only issue is that now, of those flames, the flames are not deforming. So this is definitely because of anchors. I think to make this work, we need to change some things. This stuff so far I am going to amend. So the way that rendering works is that when we have this widget, we render a rectangular texture, and this object is rendered into this texture. And location grabs this texture and composites it onto the parent. The location doesn't have its own texture. Location is a textureless widget. So it takes this rectangular texture, it warps it,
exclamations says.
Hello.
Hey, hey.
My favorite original project. Love it, leak, always. Like,
Thanks. We have a new error reporting. The problem is that the flames, they are not warping along with the object. This is something I fixed for shadows. And the way I fixed it for shadows is that I just moved the shadow drawing to the compositor. I'm not sure if drawing flames in the compositor.
so what are you up today? Are those error recovery handler or fixing bugs in Automat?
The plan is to have Automat never crash again. So, I mean, maybe not never say never, but almost never. When there are errors within objects, and most errors are within objects, almost all of the ones that I really encounter are bugs in object implementation. They should not crash Automat, they should just add flames to the object and have Automat continue running. Even some catastrophic errors like signals, like segmentation violation. But visualization is also important.
Oh, I see. So like panic mode recovery pattern.
Yeah. The idea is that there are lots of libraries that Automat can use, like TensorFlow. I do not have TensorFlow enabled. Like FFmpeg. And sometimes, those... and some of those objects, they are generated by stochastic parrots, so they are buggy by their nature. I need to provide some sort of isolation between the possibly kind of stochastically generated objects and the engine. The engine should keep running even if there are issues within individual objects. It's broken. Yeah, we have lots of leptonica objects. Yeah. They work, but not always. So this is an example of an object generated by a stochastic parrot. That one doesn't crash, but it could. So this protection is mostly to keep the environment running.
Right. Neat that you thought about it too.
Yeah, it's one of the things that are kind of still needed, because it's a very bad user experience if you run a program and it crashes. How do I fix this? Okay, options. I will list some options here in the chat, and maybe this will suggest us some other possibilities. Okay, it is impossible to draw properly deformed flames. As part of location, because deformation is only available in the compositor. Another option might be to move the flames into the object texture. And maybe there could be one more. I think the last one is probably the right solution, because I do not want to refresh the object, because the object has to redraw itself, and the object can be expensive to draw. This parrot, for example, has some fancy SVGIs, which are consuming a lot of resources. So we will add another widget, which is going to be the child of location. It's going to be placed over the original object. And it's going to copy the deformation of the object. Okay, this sounds like a plan. I'm also waiting for this to finish. Blah, blah. Classify signal. Need to somehow distinguish Stack Overflows.
And then that deformed object will be handled if the error occurs.
Yeah. So the idea in Automat is that when we render stuff, we render those textures, but on every texture we record some extra information about the orientation of the object and about where it was held by mouse. So when we finish rendering the texture, this allows us to reuse the texture for the subsequent frames. Even if there are some performance issues, you can see that there is some very weird glitches happening here. Those glitches are caused by us stretching the old texture to a new position. Basically.
Oh, I see, like object metadata. Right.
Yeah, so even if the computer cannot render stuff fast enough, the compositor still can composite the old textures at correct positions. That's a weird glitch. I worked so much on this warp effect, but it's failing here. This boundary between those two regions, it should be smoother. It's very sharp. Well. So it looks like part of the cable is moving together with the timer, and another part is kind of stuck here. Whatever. Okay. Compositor recommended. Pfft. No. I have a better idea. Shadows already work this way. Shadows work this way because they need to be combined in a funky way, so it must be part of the compositor. Frames do not. No. Yeah, this is what I don't want. I do not want to re-render the toy every frame. Weakest? No, they don't. It doesn't know how the formation works. Currently, result text.
Oh, nice. You're using Skia.
Yeah, all of this is... it's a mix of Skia and direct Vulkan, but mostly Skia. Vulkan only for the final compositing. Okay, we are just drawing the shape. It's a vector thingy. Cosmetic.
Will Automat support Proton? Is it even possible?
Yep. It already does to some degree. I haven't really tried, but it's possible to start some software within Automat. I'm not sure if Steam will start like that. Check this out. Steam is starting within Automat. Okay, it stopped. It crashed probably. The implementation of X11 server is incomplete, but it almost works. Some apps can be started, like Emacs. What can I start? I can start Firefox, I think. Yeah. And it's almost functional. I cannot scroll. This is one of the limitations. I'm using the mouse scroll, so that does not work. Yeah, some kind of file editor. A file navigator, I mean. Demo. Yeah, and the commands can also be command line. So, like ls, it lists the current directory.
Very nice. Proton is probably a future of creating Linux binaries. So outstanding work. Love it.
Yeah, step by step. I want to publish Automat kind of as is on Steam, but because this macro recording is already useful, it could already be, doing stuff. There's no point adding anything else. I just need to clean it up a little bit. We just have those final cleanups before it's published on Steam.
Very nice. Love it how command object looks and that it can act like terminal.
Yeah, it's still needs some work. I haven't really designed this. That was kind of auto-generated. A proper command will look slightly differently, probably. I was actually thinking of using a magic metaphor for, programming, and invoking terminal commands will be like using scrolls, because, in fantasy, you have magic scrolls, and even if somebody's not a magician, they can still invoke, spells from scrolls. So this is the intended metaphor for shell commands. So it should look more like a scroll of text where you can write something and then it will do something.
I can imagine that after you publish it on Steam, people will do amazing things with Automat. Haha, great idea with scrolls.
Yeah. So scrolls are like this kind of simplistic programming where you just invoke pre-made spells. And for programming, if there will be any programming utilities in Automat, I'm not a fan of this traditional programming, but I will probably add something like this. But I will use this visual language where it pretends to be kind of magic. So I think it will make it slightly more attractive. Maybe it will make programming slightly less threatening. That's my hope. Okay, I was...
Maybe some parser for Lua.
Some programming language. Lua is actually pretty nice because you can easily run Lua within your own process. And you can just give it access to some functions. So Lua could really nicely integrate with pretty much everything. So Lua could activate other objects, move them around. It's really a perfect scripting language. Just like Python, just like JavaScript. The fun thing is that none of those languages are actually mutually exclusive. Like they all could run at the same time. It's not like we have to pick one or the other. There could be a Python interpreter, a Lua interpreter, a JavaScript interpreter. All interpreters.
Exactly my thoughts. And Lu is easy for people. Lu.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel the easiest might be assembly, because we already have assembly working. Put something like this, maybe.
Assembly would be a high-level magic scrolls.
I actually think assembly is it's probably the simplest thing. Like all of the difficulty that comes with making real programs with assembly is about really conventions, things that came after assembly. For example, how do you perform system calls? How do you call functions? This kind of stuff. How do you stack? This kind of stuff is complex. It requires kind of simulating computer in your head. And this kind of stuff does not. So it's a very simple assembly loop that I can even make it tighter. It's very fun that the latency is pretty much the same speed of execution, whether we execute this or two instructions. Pretty much no difference. So now we have a connected hotkey to an assembly increment instruction. So when I press space, it increments a register by 1.
Nevertheless, you'll have a lot of space for future updates and extension within Automat, with such support of languages and programs.
Yeah. Things are going to be interesting. Okay, let me set the parrot to work, because it can do stuff in the meantime. I think option 3 is best. do we store errors? 0. Blah blah blah. Oh god, errors mutex. Okay, interesting. 0 unsafe. Error size. What the hell? I have global list of errors. Bizarre. Why did I do it like that?
Love it. You have full support from me. Anyway, got to go for another meetings. So have fun and I hope you'll figure it out. Bye. Bye!
Yeah, see you around. Then we're just copying the verb. Weakest. Okay, we are choosing the weakest suggestion according to AI. I don't think it's the weakest. The third silhouette is... It's not good. It wouldn't work because we need proper shape here. Actually moving fire to the compositor could work. Those fires, they could actually reduce the shadow code. You know, when there is an error, instead of having a shadow, you could show a fire. The logic is almost identical.
Oh, and B2 I finally joined Discord.
Nice. Yeah, open Discord. Okay, so the parrot is working. What else do we have to do today? Error flames. We need to implement this exhausted memory. I remember there was a trick to doing that. Let's see, error recovery test. Okay, we have 1 kilobyte buffer. Hmm. Hmm. When Stack Overflow happens, what's going on? I think I will need to run this scenario and see. Do something else. Maybe let's do this resolve address. Actually, can I map proc maps? Let me check. I think it's making stuff up. Okay. Let me switch to a different model. It's bizarre that this is not allowed. I don't think it will work. Okay, you cannot map. That's one sentence answer, really. That should return a string. Let's see how our process map looks like. Going to be interesting. And there it is. A lot of NVIDIA. Those are probably. It's probably GPU memory. Or some kind of, not GPU memory, or a memory that can be. Or possibly it is. It could be. There we go. Those are our addresses. I need a good proc maps parser. So this is the range. Start and an address. These are permissions. This is probably offset within the file. It's like offset within the file. This is probably some inode number or something like that. This is a very cool binary, part of Linux kernel, which is loaded into our memory. How to do this efficiently? on Linux, we are going to need something like that. This is how I would like to iterate over this. So this. You know, this entry is not going to have any start end. It's going to have a pointer to a position within the string. Let's do entry reference. Entry will just hold parsed state. It's not possible to change this, so also do const reference. This is device, this is inode. Okay, currently is going to store those addresses as int PRT, or maybe maybe uint PRT. The path. I know this fun number. This is a real file identifier on Linux. This is probably cross-platform. I don't need to give dev this. I think on Linux probably the iteration looks differently, so I will not do this. think when we start, initialize this next and pass to 0. And call parse entry. This parse entry should go into a different file. Maybe instead of storing this, store a car. Actually, we don't need this. The first character should be a hex character already. Okay, I will leave this parser to the parrot, because there is a lot of boring but tricky code. So this memory map is basically just a string with a function that makes the snapshot, and we have the iterator as the pointer, the character, and some parsed values extracted. Perfect. I could actually pass this faster. Or could I? A little bit. Okay, it doesn't really matter. I could theoretically add a method here that would do maybe a slightly faster search. It's alright, it's alright. forgot basically how to use this. Should be something like LLX, probably. So we first this. Actually, it's not so easy to parse this, because some lines with nothing at the end. I will leave it like that. Parrot will fix this. Let's see if flames are working. Shape, bounce, jaw. It's nice that everything is about flames is now in a separate compilation unit. It's kind of clean. And there are no flames. And here there are some flames. Oh, so this is the emulator. Within the emulator, flames are being drawn. By the way, on the emulator you can see how it's kind of responsive, even though it cannot keep up with the rendering. Yeah, flames are too much for the emulator. Emulator has 3 copies of Automat running actually. Incredible, incredible. The widget owned by location widget. Yeah, this looks good. Looks fine. By default, it should insert itself properly. Code is decent. I'm even okay with this being part of tick. I think this is a simplex noise here. This kind of math is typical for like triangles. It's probably some triangular interpolation. I will have to undo some of the changes. Observed object wait counter? No. Nothing like that is allowed. What the hell? Absolutely, this has to go away. I think I should add some tiny noise texture. That should make fire significantly faster. This is a good change. It's my comment. This yeah, this is acceptable. See if this is really the problem. Recorder doesn't want to run. Interesting. Runs now. Runs. It runs. Okay. We're back. of C that we need to tick the location widget. This should theoretically fix it. It's not a pretty solution. This cannot stay like that. No. This is not helping. This is not called. This is never called.
Azion377 says,
What's up, G?
Abe. This used to crash. Why is it not crashing? Come on, build.
What's the burden today?
Weird things are happening. I'm trying to cause a crash and I cannot. It's like the first time. It says something like... It says nothing. It doesn't print anything here. Not even trying to crash. Hey, maybe it was only executed once.
That's how you know you're doing a good job.
I do not understand those. Memory, blah blah blah. Actually, this is a reasonable test. Restart this. I don't think we should be using scanf, but whatever. Ah, there it is. Error message. Automat, blah 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 blah. Accessed unknown memory. Is this the right address? Kind of large. Okay, somehow it's working now. I mean, it's crashing. Let's go. It can stay. Warning here. I know this is relevant. Oh, I think I know what happened. Yeah, there was an infinite loop in my code. Sparse extent he was just never finishing. Ah. If this is Mac recording, I don't care. Run. Again. How is it that we are drawing this message, but fire is not being... Let's see, and the fire now has a proper deformation. The object is wiggly, and the fire is wiggly as well. Perfect. Perfect. How do I wake the error location? Maybe I should wake... Let's see the... What can I fix this? Two things to stop the flip flames. Stop. We want to start those flames. Error was never reported, blah blah blah. That's true. Nothing quakes location widget. That's true. Error. And this should fix the flames. This is not the fix we are looking for. Another attempt. Run. Hey, we have a nice... I mean, not so nice. The error message is ugly. We need to fix the error message. But we do have a nice flame. Be right back. Okay, I need to figure out the weird architecture they have in the error subsystem is kind of weird. Let me read about this. Not sure if we need those 3 porters. Are we really using this for anything? No, we don't. When you think about machines built in Automat, an error can really happen within some object, and the machine, the whole system, could stop because of this, or it could continue. Stopping is the save option, but it should be possible to ignore errors.
You don't use AI to code for you.
I do. But I also code by hand. It's a mix. I think initially I wanted to have more objects that attach errors. Some kind of objects that, like, documentation has this, like, validators that add errors to other objects that stop them from executing. But I'm thinking this could be simpler now.
My whole bachelor project was made by one prompt, so-called Claude One Shot.
Whoa. The idea of bachelor projects is kind of it might not make sense if you can have a machine that follows instructions better than you. The whole idea of having an engineer degree is to show that you can, follow the engineering process. This kind of doesn't make any sense anymore.
AI is the new engineering meta.
Yeah. Oops. I think I could change how I keep track of errors. Should I store errors within objects? Do you have any mutex within an object? I don't. Locking a mutex whenever I need to check for error is kind of problematic. I need a more lightweight architecture. Let's think about errors. Docs. Maybe I have any documents already and on this. I do not. So this one, Oh yes, I remember why reporter, why we kept track of this. Because if the object detects that it's self-reported as failed, then it can also clear this state. Okay, let's do some open questions. should we propagate failures? Traditionally, it's important in programming, but maybe we do not need to do this at all. Maybe it's just something we shouldn't do. Not propagate failures. This solves a problem. Technical. Because propagating errors needs work. Maybe it's... Is this ever going to be desired property? Have an error that causes... Maybe error propagation should be explicit. Okay, so first open question was answered. Okay, where to store the error information? This will also tell us how to visualize the error information. How large is an object? 24 bytes. It's a lot. Reference counted, which is 16 bytes. 4 bytes. 4 bytes. Okay, so we have vtable pointer, 2 counters, 16 bytes total. Then wake counter. And this is garbage. This is garbage. Something we basically have 3 bytes here, or 3 now. I think error information needs to be somehow stored in the object, but it should be the decision of the object how this information is stored. He's calling Paul. Yeah, I think the fire should check the toys error. I will actually remove this file and move this into error HPP. Right. We mentioned this. watching. Yeah. We need some way to watch for errors. So if objects store errors inside, they also need a mechanism to notify that errors happen. Okay, so I know how to fix this. I will just put all no. Oh yes. Hmm. Keep thinking about this. Maybe error should become an object. It's a design issue, but an important one. I think it's a good design issue to have. I'm thinking about this, and maybe error has two parts. Maybe there is a flame animation. It's kind of part of location, and an external first-class object that stores this message. Fire. What do we do with this fire? Or maybe it should be a toy. Okay. Yeah, this is the problem with Paul, is that location is no idea. Like, checking Paul should be responsibility of the object, not the location. Okay, lunchtime is coming up. I'll be wrapping up slowly, but I think I'm close to the right design already. There are just some. It's basically, I actually think the VM design is probably already good. I just need to figure out how the widget, how the UI layer can show the errors. Whatever is in the error HPPs makes sense. This is the right design. Anyway, I will try working on this. I'll see if I can come up with something new. But we do have more errors now. I mean errors. Crashes. We can now intercept crashes, which is kind of insane. This number is also super important because it allows us to debug the release builds, this single number. We do not have stack traces in release builds. Stack traces. Stack can be optimized out. It's just an implementation detail. This number, this address, is the location where an object crashed. So this is very important, very useful debug information. I will try to present this in a nicer way. Maybe it will pop up in some smoke, in some cloud of smoke. We'll see. Anyway, until next time. Bye bye.